outline your claims for us?
Sure, thank you so much for having me. So I'm here because Ajay Royan, who's the founder of Mithril Capital, has been abusing the trust and the money of Mithril's investors. I initially tried to fix things from within, including by urging Mithril's largest investor, Peter Thiel, to use his power to shut down the fraud. That didn't work, and so then I went to the SEC, and then Mithril, of course, retaliated against me by smearing my name in the press, and also by filing 2 separate pretextual lawsuits against me in Delaware and in Texas, states where I've never worked, in a vain effort to intimidate me and to chill my cooperation with the government. As you can tell, it obviously hasn't worked. And the question of, well, what has he done? What has he done that needed to be reported? So Mithril raised a second fund 2 years ago and locked in massive annual management fees from its investors on the false pretense that Mithril was going to use those management fees to fund a large and working investment team, to find great tech companies to invest the capital. Instead, Ajay virtually eliminated the investment team, pocketed the management fees, and lied to investors about it.
So to be fair, I want to bring up the response we have from Mithril,
Sure.
a spokesperson, and I want to read it out loud here. This is the allegation in Ms. McKellar's complaint are false, as evidence in Mithril's lawsuit against her demonstrates, including documents embedded in the filing that reveal that she personally approved these fee disclosures and repeatedly stated that AJ had the highest integrity. They are confident that that will be proven in court. Do you have a response to that statement?
Well, the funny thing is the 2017 audited financials actually disclosed that full management fees were charged for 2017. And let's be clear about what the lie is about management fees. The lie is that Ajay was telling Fund 2 investors that he had waived 100% of the management fees charged to Fund 2 investors in 2017. I first witnessed Ajay tell this lie to Peter Thiel at his home in January of this year, after Peter had accused Ajay of having broken Mithril through his greed. At the time, I spoke up and I told the truth, for which Ajay later accused me of disloyalty. And then I heard from a Fund 2 investor who reached out to me a few weeks later that Ajay was telling this same lie to other investors. That he'd reached out to her and he had told her that he wanted to remind her he had waived all of 2017 management fees, so that Fund 2 investors did not pay management fees for that entire year. That is false.
Some of the issues that are broadly going on in the VC world right now are high valuations, and the suit alleges that the higher valuations, were maybe too high. The problem is, valuation is what any investor says it is, because there's no public market for price discovery.
Sure.
So how do you go about proving that in court?
So I 100% agree that reasonable minds can differ as to what a reasonable valuation is for a private tech company. Reasonable minds can absolutely differ on that. However, when Ajay, when Peter, and when Paul Leggett, who was the managing director at Mithril, who served on the board and was very in touch with the day-to-day of this particular portfolio company at issue, when all three of them agree that that company is worth zero, is probably worth zero.
So why didn't you name Peter Thiel in the suit?
So it's a great question. Now, Peter is not a partner or an officer at Mithril. He is a large investor at Mithril, and for a long time, he, just like Mithril's other investors, were being lied to by Ajay. Now, he eventually did learn the truth, and he did nothing. So I'm not accusing Peter of any actual wrongdoing. I would never suggest that Peter had lent himself to Ajay's fraud. However, I do disagree with the final action that he did take, which was to choose to do nothing. When I brought these concerns to him, when he learned of the fraud that was ongoing, he chose not to act. He chose not to exercise his power that could have shut down the fraud, and he was the only person who had the power to shut down that fraud, and that's why I went to the government.
So you were general counsel, you're a lawyer
Yes.
by trade, so you
Yes.
know how these things work.
I do.
What is your ideal outcome? Is it a settlement? Is it money? What do you want the outcome to be?
Well, the most immediate outcome that I'm looking for is for the government investigation to continue without further interference by Mithril. Beyond that, we'll see.